Good evening, Tessitura community! Welcome to TN Inspire.
My name is Darryl. I work for the Santa Barbara Center for the Performing Arts, and I cried when I watched Wonder Woman. I might cry now. I cried because I was finally watching a superhero movie featuring strong women who weren't painfully over-sexualized. I cried because Diana, that's Wonder Woman's first name, by the way, is strong because she's a woman, not in spite of it. But most of all, I cried because this was a movie I needed as a little girl that no one made for me. So I thought a lot about Wonder Woman over the past year, about how I could help other people feel what I felt that day, and about why that feeling is so important. And I kept coming back to a scene that defines who Wonder Woman is to me, which is when she crosses no man's land. You see, Diana's moral imperative to help people in need required that she take action, because doing nothing meant more people would die. So she chose to pull herself up out of the trenches, even though doing so left her exposed and alone. She made that choice without hesitation because she knew it was right. This really stuck with me, and so I started comparing Diana's choice to the choices I see made around me every day, and I realized inaction is also a choice. Declining to make a change is a choice. Neglecting to include underrepresented, marginalized people is a choice. It is a lazy and hurtful choice. It hurts people by denying them the opportunity to experience a deeper connection with other people and with themselves. It denies them a sense of belonging, ownership, and self-worth. It denies them knowledge, catharsis, and culture. It makes everything we do inaccessible to them because it makes us irrelevant. But embracing diversity and inclusion benefits everyone by leading to greater innovation and appealing to younger audiences. It starts conversations and changes lives. Laverne Cox is an inclusivity icon as a Black trans woman who rose to fame, playing the role of a Black trans woman. She's a prime example of inclusion through authentic casting. She brought game-changing attention to a community that is often misunderstood or overlooked, and she is the first transgender person to be featured on the cover of Time magazine. Next, I do have Misty Copeland, who is the first Black woman to become a principal dancer at the American Ballet Theater, and she broke through to pop culture in a way unheard of for most classical dancers. She was interviewed by President Obama, she's published 2 books, she modeled for Estee Lauder, and Mattel now makes a Misty Copeland Barbie doll. So little girls of color are now seeing a career path in the arts they once thought impossible for themselves, and the world was talking about ballet in a whole new way. I also have Frida Kahlo, who had multiple physical disabilities, and they are featured in her art, both figuratively and very literally. Henri Matisse became a wheelchair user later in his life, inspiring the use of his famous paper cutouts. John Milton wrote the entirety of Paradise Lost after going blind, and Beethoven composed his greatest works after losing his hearing. Thomas Edison was nearly deaf since his childhood, and Stephen Hawking lived and thrived with ALS for decades. The impact these people have had on our world is undeniable. Imagine the impact their stories can have on people living with similar disadvantages. Everyone deserves the chance to marvel at the accomplishments of people like themselves, the chance to be astonished by the realization that they too are capable of great things. We all deserve to be represented and included and inspired, and what community could possibly do this better than ours? We are the champions of science and the keepers of art. We are the historians and the storytellers and the educators. And it is our obligation, our moral imperative, to pull ourselves up from the relative safety of our own trenches of comfort and habit, to lend our voices to those who have less visibility and less privilege, to stand up for them, even if it makes you feel exposed and alone. Because inclusivity is not just another part of what we all do, it is the heart of it. And while it may seem risky, we must take risks for what we know is right. If you need an ally, or if you would like to talk about a movie that made you cry that was not sad, please email me, find me through the TLCC portal, or see me at the conference. Thank you.